Arizona has a landlord-friendly late fee framework with minimal state-level restrictions, consistent with the state's overall property rights orientation. The governing law is found in the Arizona Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, Arizona Revised Statutes, Title 33, Chapter 10, along with general contract principles. If you're a landlord or tenant in Arizona, the state provides clear landlord-tenant structure, but leaves most late fee specifics to the lease agreement. Let's start with the basics. Arizona does not impose a specific statutory dollar cap or percentage cap on late fees. There is no statute that limits the fee to a certain amount or percentage of rent. The fee is governed by the lease terms and general contract principles. Arizona does not mandate a grace period by statute. There is no state law requiring a specific number of days before a late fee can be charged. If your lease says rent is due on the 1st and a late fee applies on the 2nd, that's enforceable under Arizona law. However, standard practice among Arizona landlords is to include a grace period of 3 to 5 days, and most professional property management companies use 5 days. The key legal principle is reasonableness under Arizona contract law. A late fee is a liquidated damages provision, and Arizona courts apply the standard two-part analysis. The damages from late payment must be difficult to calculate precisely at the time the lease is signed, and the fee must be a reasonable pre-estimate of those anticipated damages. A fee that is grossly disproportionate to the landlord's actual costs is an unenforceable penalty. Arizona courts have addressed liquidated damages in various contexts, and the standard applies directly to residential late fees. The fee must compensate the landlord for genuine costs, not punish the tenant. Administrative time, follow-up communication, bank fees, additional accounting, and the time value of money are all legitimate components. What's reasonable in Arizona? The state has a wide range of rental markets, from expensive Scottsdale and Flagstaff to more moderate Tucson and affordable smaller communities. A flat fee of $25 to $75 or a percentage-based fee of 5 to 10% of the monthly rent is generally defensible. In the Phoenix metro, where rents commonly range from $1,300 to $2,200, a fee of $65 to $100 is typical. In Tucson, where rents are lower, proportionally lower dollar amounts are appropriate. The lease must clearly state the late fee terms. Under the Arizona Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, the rental agreement governs the relationship, and any fee must be specified in that agreement. The lease should state the rent due date, any grace period, the exact fee amount or formula, when the fee triggers, whether additional charges apply for continued non-payment, and whether the fee is defined as additional rent. Arizona's Consumer Fraud Act, found in ARS Title 44, Chapter 10, Article 7, prohibits deceptive and unfair business practices. While the Act primarily targets consumer transactions, it has been applied to residential rental practices. Systematic overcharging of late fees, particularly combined with misleading lease provisions, could be challenged under this framework. The Act provides for actual damages and attorney's fees. Compounding late fees in Arizona must satisfy the reasonableness standard. A single one-time fee after the grace period is the simplest and most defensible approach. If your lease includes daily charges for continued non-payment, the total must remain reasonable. A daily fee that could accumulate to 15 or 20% of the monthly rent within a few weeks would likely be struck down. Most Arizona landlords use a single flat fee. The interaction between late fees and the eviction process in Arizona is governed by the Residential Landlord and Tenant Act and the Special Detainer Statutes. Under ARS Section 33, 11368, the landlord must provide a 5-day notice for non-payment of rent. If the tenant fails to pay within 5 days, the landlord can file for special detainer, Arizona's eviction process. Whether unpaid late fees can be included in the 5-day notice depends on how the lease defines them. If defined as additional rent, they can be included in the total amount demanded. If treated as a separate charge, the landlord should demand only unpaid rent. Best practice: define late fees as additional rent. Arizona's special detainer process is relatively fast. After the 5-day notice expires, the landlord files a complaint and the court schedules a hearing, typically within several days. The amount demanded must be accurate. Including non-compliant late fees gives the tenant grounds to challenge, which can delay an otherwise efficient process. Arizona's anti-retaliation provision under ARS Section 33-13A1 creates a 6-month rebuttable presumption of retaliation if the landlord takes adverse action after a tenant exercises legal rights. This is relevant to late fees. If a tenant files a habitability complaint and the landlord begins aggressively enforcing late fees for the first time shortly afterward, the tenant can argue retaliation. Consistent enforcement from day one prevents this argument. Arizona limits the security deposit to 1.5 months' rent. The deposit must be returned within 14 business days, not calendar days. The landlord must provide an itemized statement of deductions. Unpaid late fees can be deducted if the lease authorizes it and the fees are reasonable. Failure to return the deposit within 14 business days can result in the landlord being liable for up to twice the amount wrongfully withheld. Arizona's 14 business day deadline is shorter than most states, meaning landlords must act quickly after the tenant vacates. Having late fee records organized and accurate before move-out ensures the deduction calculation can be completed within the tight window. For tenants receiving housing choice voucher assistance, Arizona landlords should not charge late fees when the housing authority's portion is delayed due to processing. The tenant cannot control the authority's payment timeline. If the tenant's portion is paid on time, the fee should apply only when the tenant's own payment is actually late. Tucson has enacted a source of income protection, prohibiting landlords from discriminating against tenants based on their use of housing vouchers or other lawful income. Tucson landlords who charge late fees when the housing authority's portion is delayed face both a late fee issue and a potential discrimination claim under local law. Arizona's enormous military population affects late fee dynamics across the Phoenix metro and beyond. Luke Air Force Base in the West Valley, home to the F-35 training mission, generates significant demand in Glendale, Goodyear, Litchfield Park, and Surprise. Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson generates demand across the Tucson metro. Fort Huachuca, near Sierra Vista, generates demand in Cochise County. Marine Corps Air Station Yuma and the Yuma Proving Ground generate demand in the Yuma area. Military pay is predictable, the 1st and 15th, and most military tenants pay reliably. The standard 3 to 5 day grace period accommodates any minor pay processing delays. SCRA protections apply to active duty service members. Luke AFB's F-35 training mission produces constant rotation of student pilots and instructor cadre, creating regular PCS turnover. New arrivals may need time to establish direct deposit. Some West Valley landlords accommodate first-month timing while setting clear expectations going forward. Arizona's extreme heat creates practical considerations that can interact with late fee decisions. Air conditioning is not a luxury in Arizona. It's a life safety necessity. If utilities are included in the rent, the landlord's costs spike dramatically during summer, and a significant rent increase to cover cooling costs combined with aggressive late fee enforcement can push the tenant's total housing burden to unsustainable levels. Some Arizona landlords build seasonal cost expectations into their rent structure rather than relying on supplemental charges and fees during the summer months. From a practical standpoint, Arizona's rental market is dominated by the Phoenix metro, one of the largest and fastest growing in the country. Phoenix, including the entire Valley of the Sun, is a massive market. The economy is driven by technology, including the growing semiconductor cluster anchored by TSMC and Intel, healthcare, financial services, aerospace and defense, logistics, and real estate development. Rents vary dramatically across the metro, from $2,200 in Scottsdale and Arcadia to $900 in parts of West Phoenix and South Phoenix. Most Phoenix landlords charge flat fees of $50 to $75 with a 5-day grace period. The professional tenant base in the East Valley, Scottsdale, Chandler, Gilbert, Tempe, generally pays reliably. Late fee enforcement in premium areas is limited to a small percentage of tenants. More affordable areas, West Phoenix, Maryvale, South Phoenix, have higher late payment rates. Scottsdale commands premium rents, and late payment is uncommon among the affluent tenant base. Tempe, home to Arizona State University, has massive student demand. Student late payments correlate with financial aid processing. The 5-day grace period covers most delays. ASU's enormous enrollment makes Tempe one of the largest student rental markets in the country. Chandler and Gilbert have attracted technology and professional workers with strong payment reliability. Mesa has a diverse market. Glendale, Goodyear, and the West Valley are growing rapidly with military influence from Luke AFB. Tucson is Arizona's second largest market. Rents are more moderate than Phoenix, typically $900 to $1,500. The University of Arizona creates student demand. Davis-Monthan AFB provides military demand. Healthcare and tourism add to the economic base. Flagstaff, home to Northern Arizona University, has unusually high rents for its size, driven by limited supply and strong demand. The housing affordability challenge in Flagstaff is real, and service industry workers who support the tourism economy struggle with housing costs. Prescott, Sedona, and the Verde Valley have retirement and tourism-driven markets. Sierra Vista near Fort Huachuca has a military-dominated market. Yuma has military and agricultural demand. One best practice for Arizona landlords: set your late fee at a level that creates a meaningful incentive while remaining defensible. In the Phoenix metro, where rents range widely, a percentage-based fee of 5 to 8% automatically scales to the rent level. A flat fee should be calibrated to the specific submarket. $60 on a $1,400 Chandler rent is 4%, while $60 on an $800 West Phoenix rent is 7.5%. Both are reasonable, but the percentage-based approach adjusts automatically. Another best practice: include a grace period of at least 5 days, even though Arizona doesn't mandate one. 5 days is the industry standard across the Phoenix and Tucson metros. The grace period prevents disputes, accommodates minor delays, and strengthens the overall reasonableness of your fee provision. A third best practice: be aware of the 6-month anti-retaliation presumption when timing late fee enforcement. If you begin enforcing late fees aggressively shortly after a tenant files a complaint, the presumption applies. Consistent enforcement from the beginning of the tenancy, documented across all tenants, is the best protection. Keep records showing that you enforce the same fee policy for every tenant in every unit from day one. For the complete guide to Arizona late fee laws, visit tenantscreeningbackgroundcheck.com. Subscribe to our channel for every state in our late fee law series.